Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Exact Cyber Education Podcast. I'm Dr. B, your host. Today, I will discuss 3 challenging areas where cybersecurity education is falling short in preparing students and professionals to succeed in the field. So, the question is, why is that cybersecurity education is not preparing students or professionals, for that matter, to succeed in the field? And why organizations are frustrated? Well, the 3 challenging areas are: first, a zero-sum game. University and private training organizations such as SANS and many other online training companies teach their students or customers absolutes, which by definition is a value or principle which is regarded as universally valid or which may be viewed without relation to other things, which is very important. For example, when teaching patch management, which is a highly relevant topic, given the nature of compromise we see it on a daily basis, cybersecurity training focuses on identifying vulnerabilities and patching them. Sometimes the professor or instructor will discuss patching priorities, which will lead to a whole new discussion on the correct way and the correct strategy to approach this. Should you prioritize based on environment, prod, dev, test, or based on a CMDB database that you may have in your organization, which you will classify the system as high, medium, and low, based on data classification, or even based on your BCP, your business continuity plan, where based on a business impact analysis, we'll classify systems as based on the tolerance the organization can take when the system is down. Well, truth be told, the latter approach is most often not discussed. Or preferred approach is discussed rather than teaching the pros and cons of each approach and let actually the student or the seasoned profession, for that matter, select the most appropriate for their organization. Additionally, what we see most of all in the literatures on this topic, we'll discuss the patch management process, but yet fail to explain how to prioritize installation. There's a paper that was written recently, a 2020 paper. It came from the university somewhere in Australia. I forgot the name of the university, but I'll get in the show notes for you. But it's a recent paper, 2020, as I said before, titled Software Security Patch Management, a Systematic Literature Review of Challenged Approach Tools and Practices. It's an easy paper. It's free to find. If you search that title on Google Scholar, it will come up for you. But I'll read this piece for you. It was found that several social technical factors, such as the applicability of patches and their impact to management systems, positive cost-benefit analysis, patch type and severity, patch reliability, and compliance to organizational policy impact practitioners' decision to apply the patches. Now, this goes to the topic that we've been discussing right now. This is not addressed in universities and in private organizations that teach cybersecurity. There's a lot more than find and patch. This is not a black and white. Life happens in the gray areas. Therefore, that's what I call this zero-sum education, the zero-sum education that we need to be addressing in our education. The second area, in the second challenge that I see that is not being addressed in universities or private training organizations, is what I call business language. Another factor is the gap in communication, right? The gap of knowledge that we see in technical and business contexts regarding cybersecurity, such as patch management, let's continue with that same topic, right? Involves multiple stakeholders with different levels of interest and knowledge about the process. There's a lack of knowledge of organizational business risk postures and security risk. This leads, of course, as we all know, in practice, to conflict between different stakeholders. For example, senior management usually is more concerned about the business stability, so they would be paying more attention in system availability. While, us as security practitioners, our interest and focus on minimizing the risk of an exploit. So there are interest in applying the security patch as soon as possible. That may result in system downtime due to a compromise. However, this knowledge gap renders traditional risk assessment methods obsolete if we take in consideration the business take and view on this problem, right? Often leads to conflict between these stakeholders and the security team. So patch prioritization, a patch schedule, and even agreeing on the time to apply the patches is something that needs to be discussed in training, in university and private organizations. It needs to be discussed and prepare the student, the practitioner, the professional, and how to deal with the situation, how to address, how to communicate in the same language as the business, which leads for a third and final challenge, what I call it, in general communication. So last but certainly not least, right? University and private training facilities don't address leadership communication, which goes with the understanding the business language in each organization. How can a student or professional communicate the urgency, applicability, and relevance of his or her request? What if no action is taken? Will potentially happen to the organization? What will be the impact on the business in business term? So how can you communicate that? How can you teach your students? How can you teach those professionals how to communicate with leadership? Remember, as I mentioned before, when we were discussing business language, right? They have different views, different takes on how you're going to patch and what the priority is. So just sending a report output from your Tenable or Qualys scanner will not do the job. So let's make that clear right now. Number one, prioritization. Number two, put the language in business term. Put the communication in business term so that technology and business professional can understand what needs to be done and what actions need to be taken. This is very important. Once again, let me recap for you the three challenges that we just discussed today: zero-sum game, business language, and communication. Let's keep that in mind, that needs to be addressed as we move forward on our cybersecurity education. And then if you don't go for training, right? Let's keep it that simple. Let's read up on it. Let's make sure that we communicate well. We get a lot of times frustrated why management don't get it, why we have such a difficult time to patching our systems. So let's broaden our scope a little bit, right? So that's the challenge for you. Let's broaden the scope a little bit. Let's understand how to communicate the urgencies. Remember, what I like to talk about a lot here in this podcast is risk, cyber risk to be specific. So have you taken a step back and look how those patches align to the risks on your risk register? This is very important. This will support you as you communicate to the organization. The organization will be familiar, business or technical, what the risks are to the organization. And I mean risks to the organization. A report on vulnerability is not a risk. Actually, it is what it is. It's a vulnerability. It's a weakness, not a risk. So you need to communicate in the right terms. You need to express this in business terms. Once you have that, you will see that you're going to move forward. You're going to get more accomplished and you're going to get stuff done. Now, it's easier said than done, right? It's not going to be something that you're going to go ahead and start doing right away, but we'll get you closer and we'll get you noticed. Well, this is it for now. Please make sure to subscribe and leave a review on iTunes so you do not miss any future episodes. I'm glad you stopped by today. I appreciate you and you spending your time with me today. Thank you very much. See you next time. This is Dr. B, your host. I'm out.